Hi, this is David, and I wanted to do this video on how the Mormon missionaries and the members of the Mormon church are professionally taught to lie. The Mormon church hires certain people to help the young missionaries and the general membership of the church, which becomes the general membership of the church when they get back from a mission. But so if you train a missionary, you've trained a member for life. I just got done reading or listening to a video on Bob Millet, Millet, which has been a banned video off of YouTube. I have it. It's not banned to me, but anyway. Oh, Bob has a group of missionaries that he's training, and I can see why the church took this off, because somebody, a missionary, recorded what this guy said. Well, again, in the Mormon church, everything's a secret, everything is sacred, everything is underground, under table, and knife in your back. So somebody recorded this, and I guess the Mormon church says, oh my God, now we have proof that we lie and teach our young people to lie. Well, Bob starts his video off by saying to the young missionaries before they go out on their mission, when he's ever asked an antagonistic question. Now, here's what he claims are antagonistic. Mountain Meadows massacre. Joseph Smith with two 14-year-old girls in bed. Brigham Young cutting the heads of blacks off. Those are antagonistic. They're not antagonistic. They're real questions that real human beings want to know. One of the examples he gave was, isn't it true that your church says you can become like a god? And he says, I never answer those questions. Well, if he did, there wouldn't be one member in a Mormon church anywhere. So he teaches these young missionaries, when they come across informed potential converts that have looked at the internet perhaps, when they say, well, is it true that Joseph Smith married 30 women, and at least 10 of them were already married, and two 14-year-olds and a couple 16-year-olds? That, in his opinion, Brother Bob says, is an antagonistic question. Now, here's what he teaches the Mormons to do. And by God, if you talk to any Mormon, they are professionals. He said, I never answer the question that they ask. I always answer the question that they should have asked. Like, they're all stupid. They don't know what questions to answer. So I'm going to tell them what the question is and what the answer is. There's Mormonism. There's Mormonism in a shell. So how do you get an answer from a Mormon? Well, again, I have a little bit of psychology background and degrees, and know human behavior fairly well. And I've been a salesman with New England Life in Massachusetts, and so I know how to close. Get your checkbook out now, and here's a pen for you. Here is what I'm going to talk about. If you're going to talk to a Mormon, it's like catching a greased pig. Now, I never ran after a greased pig. I remember seeing them in the Philippines on the porch where the kids would go out and sit on the pig like it was a couch. But we never greased it and ran after it. And I'll tell you something, pigs are strong. I don't want to go after a greased pig, okay? And I really don't want to go after a Mormon. But, you know, I'm an inquisitive person, and hopefully many of you that watch my videos go, wait, hey, left side of the brain, you know, that doesn't make sense. So you ask a question. Well, if you ask a question to a greased pig or a Mormon that is antagonistic, good luck. Good luck. You are wasting your breath, your time, and your words, and you are not going to get a straight answer. Now, with my psychology background, here's what I've had to do when I've worked with young people and adults who lie. I ran residential treatment centers for emotionally disturbed people and ran a couple of adult programs, and I've been around a lot of people who lie. Well, now I think about it, I was in the Mormon church for 50 years. I met some people there that lied, like about 99% of the population. Okay, here's how I would handle asking true questions. Now, I don't mean to be antagonistic. If you're trying to be antagonistic, then most people are going to repel you and go, hey, screw you, go back and get in your car. But if you're honest, and most of you are, and you're looking for answers to doctrine, the Mormon church wants you to be brainwashed first before you get the answers, because the answers don't make any sense. And if they answer those questions, they know they don't make any sense. So they are trained to answer the question you should have asked. Well, there's an interpretation of that with me, and that is the questions you hoped they would ask that you have an answer for. So Bob here is telling the missionaries, don't answer direct questions. He says, I never answer a direct question. I always say, well, and then he deflects or he changes the subject. Now here's what I want to leave with you. Deflection and belittling your question is a typical tactic and technique of a cult. When you say to Brother Bob, isn't it true that your church teaches you can become like a god? The answer is yes. One word. Yes. Why can't he say that? Because the person asking the question is going to go, holy shit, that doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't. It doesn't. So, Brother Bob there, he said, well, that's not the question he should have asked. He should have asked the question, where can I find the missionaries and have them brainwash me for 6 lessons and then get ramroded with a love bombing into a local ward and be around 5 or 6 years before I really get an answer. And the answer still is going to be yes, but by that time you're so beat down in the cult and so ashamed and so guilty and so afraid, you're not going to say that's stupid. People who are not in the cult are going to say, you know, that doesn't make sense, that's stupid. So here's what I suggest you do, and what I've done as a professional person when I've had to deal with people who are professional liars. And I'm sorry to say it, but I'm going to say it. All Mormons are professional liars. All Mormons are professional liars. The higher you go in the Mormon church, the better you are, and then you can teach the others how to lie. So if you're going to ask a question, not just the Mormons, but I'm generalizing, to a person who lies, you may say, well, on the 15th of February, isn't it true that you were at 1313 Mulberry Street in Baltimore, Maryland? Now, the answer to that question is 2 words, yes or no. And here's what liars and what Mormons will do. They'll say, well, I'm glad that you asked that question. I think that that's a very, very interesting question. And you know, a lot of times we go to these kinds of courts and these kinds of government agencies, and the real questions are really never asked. And I think that the Mulberry Street question is critical to this case. I really think that the time and the presence and on the street, now I assume it's Mulberry Street, is it in Baltimore or is it in Castle Robles in California? It's not the California Paso Robles. Okay, Mulberry Street. Now let me think, because there's a lot of Mulberry Streets around, and why is this important? Okay, now I could go on forever, and you know, I usually do. If you're going to get an answer from a Mormon, you look at the question and you ask it identically again, after they go through all of that bullshit, all of that deflection, all of that, let's look over here, what color's your tie, who are you, how, oh, my mother was born there. After you go through all that crap with them, you just sit there quiet. That's what I did when I was a counselor. They got done, and I would say, well, do you remember what the question was? No. Like, well, I do. Where were you on February 13th at 9 p.m. Were you on Mulberry Street in Baltimore, Maryland? Ah, what? And they may go into it a second time. They may go into it a second, third, or fourth time. That is a liar, a deflection, and a projection. We call it projection in psychology, where they really did do something, but they're going to blame it on somebody else. So if you're going to talk anything with an LDS person, they are trained never to answer you. Never give you a direct answer. And always point you towards Mormon.org or the Book of Mormon or some other wild goose chase. So when you say to somebody, wasn't Brigham Young responsible for the Mountain Meadows Massacre? And they say, we don't know that. There's no real evidence, and we have some. The church is perfect, but those people down there, they're the church is like a doctor. It's for the sick people, and they go on and on and on and on, and finally, as a normal person, you go, "What the hell?" You're talking to a cult member. You're talking to a cult member. So don't get upset. Don't get mad. Don't, overreact emotionally, because they are. And hold the question. Exactly. If you have to write it down, don't make any comments on all of the bullshit you just heard. Say, and where were you on November 15th? And, and they'll go off on another tangent, because that's what the right side of the brain has been brainwashed to say and do. And here we have it now, a video which has been banned by the Mormon Church because it tells the truth. Now you see this a little bit with the Mitt Romney, and again, these tapes will be antiquated, and some kid will say, well, who is Mitt Romney, 50 years from now. But you'll see when people hit Mitt Romney on a question he doesn't want to answer, he deflects it, and then he goes into his standard speech about, conservatism and small government, and the tape just automatically rewinds and plays over and over again. So I wanted to leave with you at least my experience in dealing with liars professionally, and cheaters professionally, and thieves professionally, and people who get caught with their panties down around their ankles. And I'll tell you this, and you can take this to the bank. When you ask a person a question, the longer the answer is, the more likelihood they're lying. They're lying. If you said to me, well, David, isn't it true that you've been married 5 times? There's just basically 1 or 2 words, yes or no. Well, one of them was, it was an annulment, and an annulment is not really a marriage, and so the numbers, they don't fall out exactly the way you're saying, and what is divorce? It's basically just a piece of paper, and I was so young, and it goes on and on and on. They're lying. They are lying. You know it. Sometimes they don't. They have just simply been trained to lie and lie and lie. And so you can hardly blame them. It's kind of like a baby, is babbling to you, and you yell at it to quit babbling, and it babbles more. That's kind of like a Mormon. So anyway, hold on to the original question. Don't get into any additional comments or additional facts. Don't answer any questions. When they say, well, what do you mean, a divorce? You say, well, what does a divorce mean to you? You bounce it right back to them and lock them in, back them in, back them in, and pretty soon they're in the corner and go, I don't want to talk about this anymore. This, I don't feel the spirit. The burning in my bosom is not there. I really feel the Lord has asked me to leave and not engage you and to shun you. That's what happens if you back a Mormon into the corner with their policies, procedures, their doctrine, and their history. So don't get too frustrated. Don't get too upset that you can't get a straight answer from a Mormon, because a straight answer is the truth, and the straight answer is so outrageous, even a brainwashed Mormon is going to say, oh man, that who's going to believe that? And I'm, a member of that cult. and I'm paid, or well, I pay my tithing to believe that. So I just wanted to leave with you, if you're going to try to talk to a Mormon, you might as well grease a big pig. And they're strong. And I don't know what kind of grease. I don't know if they put kitchen grease on it or lube, Jiffy Lube. I don't know. But I don't want to chase any more grease pigs. And I really don't want to discuss the Mormon church with anybody except Mr. Microphone here. And he always, I can't even get him in the picture. He's shy. He's shy. So this is how I discuss things with the Mormons, because when you talk to them, you're not going to get a word in edgewise. And it's okay if they call me insane. They've called me, this week they said, you know, we have found the escapee from the mental institution. And I go, well, what's your point? You're crazy. You're going to live your life in misery. So, well, I was in the Mormon church for 50 years. I can't believe that it's going to be more miserable being out. It's kind of like, you'll go to hell. And I said, well, that might be a relief. I've been a Mormon. So I ain't afraid of hell. Have a good day.